To order here at 6:30 for our budget meeting. Mr. Kosher, could you please take attendance?
Johnson? Here. Olson?
Here.
Skelton? Here. Boss Ward?
Here.
Winiger? Here. All present.
Thank you. If you could please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this time, any visitors who wish to address the board may do so. We ask that you sign in when you enter the room and please list the topic. If you have not done so, please approach the podium and I do ask that you refrain from listing any student by name or any personnel by name. Is there anyone who would like to address the board? And as a reminder, there will be no action taken this evening. Seeing none, I will move on to Tanager happenings, which I believe there is none tonight.
That's correct, none.
Wonderful. Moving on to our agenda changes and conflict disclosures. Are there any agenda changes, Dr. Elvey?
There are none.
Wonderful. I would take a motion to approve the agenda. First by Mark.
Second?
Second by Ryan. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Next up here, we have indication of conflict of interest per South Dakota Codified Law 3-23. This is Rachel and I have none.
This is Carol and I have none.
This is Jake and I have none.
I'm Mark and I have none.
This is Ryan, and I have none.
Great. I believe here, is this the time we're going to do our new forms, Dr. Elvey, or do we do that the next one?
Next one.
Next one, okay. So we're going to repeat that again afterwards with our new conflict disclosure forms. Next up then here, we have our consent agenda. First up here, we have our approval. Do you want me to start the budget part? Is that what you're wanting me to do?
Do you want to get that much done?
We can.
Otherwise, we could just go right into the budget hearing.
You didn't put that as a thing,
Right.
did you? Yes. Let's get our consent agenda done, and then we can go to the budget hearing, since it wasn't an item on our agenda. All right, consent agenda here. We have approval of our minutes, resignation, new hire, open enrollment, and bills. We have our June 8th meeting minutes. For resignations, we have John Walker, part-time custodian, Rebecca Seaman, assistant drama, Jenna Jones, lead custodian, new hire, Kristen Swenson, summer help, Dustin Sakis, boys assistant soccer, Daniela Anglin, 5th grade, Trina Meredith, senior class advisor, Dietrich Barbara, assistant drama, Michelle Rydell, elementary art teacher, and we do have 2 open enrollments, 27-01-OE, 27-02-OE. Would anything like to be pulled from the consent agenda? Perfect. Seeing none, I would take a motion to approve.
So moved.
I'll second.
First by Carol, second by Mark. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. We will then, since we're kind of out of order, I guess move on to our budget hearing. That will start. I believe we have some slides that we will get pulled up here. Wonderful. Anything anybody needs to say before we dive into reviewing our budget presentation?
We'll just go through fund by fund and I'll allow the finance committee who Dr. Elvey and I have worked with on this budget and some of the decision making that we've had going into it. We've had some discussions on the assumptions that are being made with this budget and some of the factors that have caused some changes from the previous years, and we will go through some of those.
Wonderful. I apologize, your TVs aren't working on front, but if you want to turn your chair and look at the screen, you're welcome to. So first up here is our general fund. Budget enrollment for FY26 was 1,340, which was lowered to 1,280 for FY27, which results in a decrease in property tax plus state aid of $2,800,000, even when factoring in the 1.40% increase from the state. We do see an increase in federal grants due entirely to the addition of the new grant through the state of South Dakota using Title School Improvement Funds for the BARR, B-A-R-R, the Building Assets Reducing Risk program that we talked about last month. That would be $240,000 in FY27 and $720,000 in total for the 3 years. We are going to transfer in $300,000 from the use of capital outlay flexibility to transfer back for the expenditures that have been paid out of the general fund due to temporary fund balance cap concerns while the SR program was active. Transfer is still well below the max approximately 1.3 million that could be by law transferred. Then regarding the expenditure side of things, decrease in elementary instruction budget due to teaching position reduction at the kindergarten, first grade, and second grade. We moved the third grade teaching position that was added for the 25-26 school year to fourth grade for the 26-27. That was no budget impact. Some of the elementary instruction decrease is offset by the 2% raise for returning staff members and the $80,000 fee for the bar program, which will be fully reimbursed through the TSI grant. We are seeing an increase in middle school and high school instruction categories, primarily due to 2% raises for returning staff members and the $80,000 fee for the bar program per school building. There's a decrease in guidance, behaviorist, and health services, largely due to the reduction of the social worker position and shifting eligible positions to the special ed fund. There's a small increase in other support services categories due to the 2% raise for returning staff members. There's a decrease in operation and maintenance budget due to shifting property insurance costs to the capital outlay fund, with the new law taking effect July 2026. This decrease is partly offset by the increase in utility rates for all the buildings. Transportation category increase due to the contracted rate increase and increased co-curricular activities. Co-curricular increase due to the increase provided through negotiations process and the addition of coaching advisor positions for wrestling, tennis, and show choir. There's a $28,000 transfer out to subsidize the preschool program. Wonderful. We should be able to go to the next slide, which should take us to the capital outlays. Oh, fall enrollment.
Yeah, actually, we do have one, if we can go back to that slide there. We like to take a look at this time to the enrollment trends that we are seeing. As you can see, a few years back there, we had some nice growth as far as those student numbers go. That's really one of the main drivers of the revenue and our budget as a whole right there, so that's why we have this included. We have unfortunately seen some reductions over the last couple of years, and this FY27 budget is based on the assumption that our student enrollment count number will be around 1,280 students for 26-27. Of course, we won't know that number until the end of September, so by this, we'll have to pass our budget based on our best approximation of what that'll be. We hope it'll be higher than that, but we are also prepared for if it is lower than that based on where we currently stand with our reserves. So if you want to flip that over to the capital outlay.
One more thing to add to the general fund for the folks that might be looking at home. Of our 6 funds that you're going to hear the board discuss tonight, the general fund is our biggest fund. It is the one that we, when most people think about where their taxes are going, this is what they think about. It's going to wages, it's going to the general operating costs of the district, and the things that keep the doors going and open and the kids coming to and from. So the general fund is by at large our largest fund that you'll hear us talk about tonight.
Great, thank you for adding that. Here we go for the capital outlay. We're starting with the revenue side. So increase in property taxes due to continued increase in the taxable valuation of the district, 17.8% increase from the 25-26. Despite this large increase, our district is capped at around a 6% increase due to limitations from the state of South Dakota. Other local revenue for partnerships with the Vermillion Athletic Boosters for the restroom addition to concession stand and donors for the new wrestling mats. We see a decrease in federal funds due to the conclusion of the COPS security grant for FY26. Then on the expenditure side, we have a separate document that we'll go through here on our capital outlay that you're used to seeing here. We have a significant increase in elementary programs due to large reading curriculum implementation. The operation and maintenance increase partly due to paying property insurance premiums to the capital outlay fund. Our debt services decrease from the completion of the debt obligations during FY26. This will decrease further for the next fiscal year, FY28, as we will make the final payment on one of our debt obligations in FY27, which will save us just under $120,000 per year going forward. We'll also see a transfer out of $300,000 to the general fund. If you go to the next slide, do we have the detail on the capital? So, do you want to highlight anything from our capital list for 26, 27?
Yes, thank you. In the board packet and available for anybody who would like to see it, we have, basically, it's our 5-page capital outlay plan. And our capital outlay plan is really derived from a couple sources. One is from staff needs. Our administrators and our instructors basically come up with the needs if they're needing new curriculum updates, or if it's technology, or perhaps it's even a building addition or something that's more structural in nature. It would come out of this fund, our capital outlay fund. And in the board packet, I've highlighted just a few things. When we're talking about this, budget of $3.5 million, we want to kind of highlight a few of the things that are annual and things that are sort of on our 3 to 5 year capital outlay list. An example of an annual expense is every year Mrs. Johnson and our teachers and principals are looking to update curriculum. So we have anywhere between $200,000 to $300,000 set aside annually for our curriculum updates and textbooks. Another example of, on a smaller scale of an annual update, would be just normal desks, chairs, supplies for teachers, lunchroom tables. Those come in at between $5,000 or $10,000 for each of the schools, but they are things that wear out and have to be constantly looked at. So some years we have more expense there, and some years we have less. Other examples: science equipment, music equipment, library books. Those are all annual expenses that are always in the capital outlay budget, and they're priorities, and that therefore then when we look at our 3 to 5 year plan, they don't take priority over those, and we never reduce our budget in terms of staff, supplies, or needs for the district on an annual basis because we're looking at a larger project. But examples of one-time dollars would be, like this year, we're doing an HVAC renovation at the middle school. It will actually turn into a 2 times because we only got half of it done this year, but we had $200,000 set aside to work on the HVAC units at the middle school in conjunction with doing the middle school roof. So sometimes those annual dollars are rather large, and sometimes they're rather modest. And same with our one-time dollars. Sometimes they're very large, like a $200,000 HVAC renovation, and sometimes they're smaller and they're just things that are nice to add to the addition of our curriculum. And another example of one that we're working on now is we're working on our theater safety equipment. This year, we've budgeted $40,000 for upgrades to the inside of the theater, which would include a new curtain and riggings behind the scenes. We've done all the work in the lobby of the area, the seating area, and the lighting of the theater, and now we're putting a little work into the backstage area because our staff have said those are getting older, and we want to make sure that they're up to speed with the latest safety and equipment adaptations. So those are just examples that would show up with our finance committee and with our buildings committee and find their way on a plan for our annual budget for the capital outlay portion of our budget each year. Sometimes it's on a 3 to 5 year plan, and sometimes it's expedited to the front of the list and put on for the immediate to be done completely and immediately. So those are just a few examples.
Wonderful, thank you. Next up here should be the Special Education Fund. Great. On the revenue side, starting off, the increase in property tax is driven by new growth in the district. The state aid increase of around $61,000 comes from a combination of student count increases, fund balance decreases, and increases in aid percentage from the state. There's a slight decrease in federal revenue budgeted mostly due to using up carryover dollars from the previous year. Then on the expenditure side, we have an increase in programs for special ed due to raises for staff members. Health services increase caused by shifting of eligible expenditures from the general fund. And then transportation services and other services decreases to match the actual expenditures from FY26. The next fund here should be our debt service fund. Great. Here we use this for paying off the debt for the elementary building project. There's a slight increase in property tax total requests, but tax rate continues to decrease as the valuation growth continues to outpace previous expectations. That was approximately 1.110 levy for the payable out of 27. Next up here, then we have the food service fund. Wonderful. We have local and federal revenue driven by participation, which also drives our costs. Budgeting for use of $42,000 in reserves. So we have to continue to evaluate our pricing in future years to potentially offset this. Then lastly, we have our enterprise fund. Right. This here is the preschool and driver's ed programs. This does include a transfer in of $28,000 from the general fund for the preschool program and using $10,800 of fund balance. We'll need to continue to evaluate this program annually. Of course, that's with the Boys and Girls Club partnership that we have for preschool services. And I believe that should be my last tab.
Just to add to the enterprise fund, Mr. Settles does a great job of filling a class each summer with driver's ed kids, and we base our pricing based on that, and it's always full with a waiting list, and he drives all fall or all summer and into the fall. And in our preschool, like Rachel mentioned, the partnership with the Boys and Girls Club, last year we had a high of 32 and down to as low as 24 in our preschool program. For whatever reason, we've had 2 years of decreased numbers in our preschool program. Now we've partnered with the Boys and Girls Club, and we've got 38 registered for the program. For whatever reason, they are doing the registrations for us. So for folks at home that are considering preschool options, you can call the school, but we will forward you on to the Boys and Girls Club, who will take the registration numbers and the transportation and the addresses and things as we build the classes to have 2 full-time teachers with 2 half-time programs. So 4 classes daily offered between our 2 staff. So we hope to get to mid-40s, maybe as high as 48 with our preschool numbers again this year. So.
Yeah, just looking at the budget as a whole, we're still in a pretty good shape as we go into this 26-27 budget. Obviously, some of the student numbers, we showed the graph there. Some of those decreases have driven some of the staffing decisions that have been made as we prepare for this next school year. And just as a snapshot of the financials, we're still in great financial shape, but that doesn't mean that we don't have challenges. You know, a couple of those potentially being, you know, if that student number continues to go down, or the possibility of reduction in some of our federal programs. If some of the funding for those go away, then decisions would have to be made as well. But again, looking at this FY27 budget, we do still continue to be in good shape. And the fortunate part of having a good reserve level is if some of those numbers don't come in as we hope that they do, or if we do have a sudden downturn in some of those federal funds, we've at least got a little bit of time to make some decisions rather than having to immediately enact staffing changes or some of those things, because we do have the reserve level there to be able to take some of those on for the short term.
Any questions from the group or from the crowd?
I guess I would just conclude that, of course, our budget is a public document, and anybody that would ever have questions on this after this evening could make an appointment to see Mr. Kosher or myself. But I guess the main thing to know in the budget process is that our district does a really good job of building budget from the bottom up, which means we have staff involved, and they report their needs to their supervisors, and eventually it gets to the principals. The principals meet with Mr. Kosher and I early in the spring, typically right after Christmas, and we start to put down what are the priorities of the districts. Are there new initiatives or old initiatives that we're funding? Are there capital needs or building areas that need to be addressed? Eventually that goes to Finance Committee, who has their hands on some of the plan in terms of prioritizing the needs. The Building Committee gets involved to understand the facility needs and upgrades that might be necessary. Eventually, it lands as well in the hands of our negotiators team, who in the late spring, after the legislative session has concluded, does the final wrap-up of what kind of funds we can expect from the state of South Dakota, and then they put those into salaries and increases and benefits for the staff, and all of that gets put into a document which is really evolving from April, May, and June. The first round of this, if you remember, was presented in May, and then May, June, and into this early July is when things kind of get massaged and put into their final areas. And then that's why tonight at the budget hearing, it gets presented publicly, so that it becomes a resolute document that the board will approve later on tonight. And that will be our working document for the 26-27 school year. So it's a long process, but it has a lot of people involved along the way and a lot of checks and balances, which I think sometimes we have to remind the folks about, is that there's a lot of hands on the budget from start to finish, and we appreciate everybody's input because everybody sees things from a little bit different lens, and it's important to get all of those things thought through when you're considering the budget for 1,300 students and a couple hundred staff. So that's tonight's event for the budget hearing. You'll formally approve this in a few minutes at the beginning of our formal July meeting. But thanks for your help with that, all of the board members.
Any remaining statements?
I'd just like to extend my appreciation to the Finance Committee and everyone involved in this important process. This shows what's important to us, and thank you for all the work that went into it.
Good administration team, so. We'll take here about an 8-minute recess here, and we'll resume our July meeting here at 7 p.m.
say about Carol is, and I think it speaks from all of us actually, is if there was something that we needed to talk through and find out some details on, whether it's a community issue because of her connections in town, or it's the university connections, or if it was policy, probably that's where we used her the most, is helping us walk through some of the things that the board needed more guidance, more discussion, and more time with. And that was one of the things that we always appreciate about Carol, is she gave her time, and sometimes her giving the time told us we needed more time to talk through things or look at things through a different lens. So what typically happens when a school board member has done their terms with the school district, they are given a gift, a parting gift by the school board and the district for their serving of the district and serving our students and staff honorably. Carol, we're going to give her a plaque tonight that basically she has donated her gift back to the Vermillion Public School Foundation, a $300 gift back to the foundation to use for the benefit of staff and students. And so we will present that to her at this time.
Oh, you're good. It's a good view. That's all right.
Now your feet.
Thank you. So, yeah, I just have a few words that I wanted to say. My husband and I, and more recently our two boys, are all alums of the Vermillion School District, and all four of us have benefited from an educational foundation that challenged us and engaged us and offered myriad opportunities to try new things. And so I'm especially thankful for the opportunity to serve the district as a board member for the past 6 years. And I, not surprisingly, have new eyes and a deeper appreciation for all that goes into running a school district. So thank you all for, all of you who are sitting up here, for your continuous efforts at providing what is needed for an excellent education for Vermillion's kids. And thank you to our talented and dedicated teachers and staff doing the important work of delivering education in our schools every day. And thank you, Damon and Rachel, for your leadership as superintendent and board president. I feel like there is a confidence and a pride and a willingness to take on new things in our schools, and that is no accident. So congratulations to the new board members, and best wishes to you all in the 2026-2027 school year. Thank you. Okay, so now I close up and.
Yep.
So, stay for another hour or two. The policy section is coming.
Okay.
It's a very lengthy one. Every July is a lengthy policy. Thank you, Carol.
And now we'll end up transitioning.
Yeah, so what we'll do next here, we'll do adjournment of the board meeting, then we'll pass it off to our oath. So if I would take then a motion to adjourn the board meeting.
So moved.
First by Mark,
I'll second.
second by Jacob. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Pull same sign, motion passes.
Okay, so at this point, we will go ahead and have Ryan Johnson and Phil Terwilliger, who will be taking the oath of office for being newly elected board members for the 26-27 school year. I'm not sure who's going first, but if you would step up to the podium.
Closer.
And basically read the oath of office, and then you can come take your seat. We'll end up moving the board down here shortly, but we'll let Phil go first.
All right. I, Phil Terwilliger, do solemnly swear to support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of South Dakota. I swear to faithfully and impartially perform my duties as a member of the School Board of Vermillion School District Number 13-1, residing in Clay and Union Counties in South Dakota, to the best of my ability and in accordance with the laws now in effect and hereafter to be enacted during my continuance in said office until my successor is elected and qualified.
Thanks, Phil. Welcome aboard. And Ryan Johnson.
All right, ready? All right. I, Ryan Johnson, do solemnly swear to support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of South Dakota. I swear to faithfully and impartially perform my duties as a member of the School Board of Vermillion School District 13-1, residing in Clay and Union Counties in South Dakota, to the best of my ability and in accordance with the laws now in effect and hereafter to be enacted during my continuance in said office until my successor is elected and qualified.
Welcome aboard.
If I can have you both sign those oaths, and then I will take them to be filed away in my office.
Congratulations. That's fine. We'll all switch a room here in a minute anyways.
It was 2 years ago now. I don't even know if we had to do it for him. I don't think so. That was a long time ago. What do you have to vote this morning? I don't know.
All right, well, thank you. Welcome aboard, gentlemen. That's our paperwork section of the meeting. Now, as the reorganization of the Vermillion School Board's meeting, it's my duty to call the July 13th, 2026 school board meeting to order. And the business of the superintendent this evening will just be to seek a selection of president of the Vermillion School Board for the 26-27 school year. And once that person is seated, they will take over the meeting and run the traditional meeting. So at this time, I would take a motion for school board president for the Vermillion School District. Mark.
Nominate Rachel.
There is a motion.
I'll second.
And second by Jacob. Okay. All right. Seeing no other nominations, we will go ahead and vote. All in favor of electing Rachel as our president of the school board, all say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. And we pass. Very good. Welcome aboard, Rachel. So thanks, Rachel. Good job.
I enjoyed my moment of turnover there. All right, thank you. We'll move on next here with the election of the vice president of the board. Do we have any nominations for vice president?
I'll nominate Jake.
We have a nomination for Jacob Skelton. Any other nominations? Seeing none, then I would take a motion to approve Jacob Skelton.
So moved.
First by Mark,
I'll second.
second by Ryan. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Pull same sign. Motion passes. Welcome, Jake. All right, we'll take a motion or a moment here to just shuffle around. Everybody can kind of scoot over. As the new guy down at the end, Phil, we do have microphones on here. You can push the green button when you're willing, when you want to talk.
If you-
Just mute it when you are done.
You feel free if you need to rearrange your nameplates as well. And of course, Phil will have yours for the next meeting. So we just have to move them all down that looks there. There you go. Thank you for doing that.
We'll get Carol as her parting gift, hers. All right, and in true first meeting fashion, we have a lot of items to go through here today. Most of these here can be done in one motion. When we get to new business, there'll be, again, significant items for us to discuss today. So I'll try to go through this as swiftly as possible, but please stop us at any time we have any questions, okay? Our first one here is item A, which is designate Kevin Kosher as business manager and custodial of all accounts. Item B, appoint superintendent of schools as ADA director, EOE officer, and authorized school district representative for all federal title programs not otherwise specified in the following action. C, authorize superintendent to dismiss school in case of inclement weather, disease, or emergency, with secondary principal authorized to dismiss school in absence of the superintendent. Your favorite job, Dr. Elvey?
Yep.
Yep. Number D is appoint superintendent and business manager as our purchasing agents. E, authorize board president and business manager as check signers. Item F, authorize Kevin Kosher, Nicole Mockler, and Jamie Mulhern usage of the fax stamp and signature plate for the school board president. Item G, appoint Jennifer Olafson as homeless and migrant student director. H, appoint Jason Huska as Title IX director. I, appoint Jennifer Olafson as Title III limited English proficiency and Title VI director. Item J, appoint John Fry, Sam Jacobs, Becky Sanderson, and Stacy Peterson as co-directors of Section 504 at their respective buildings. Item K, appoint KSB Law and Brent Matter Law for local items for school attorneys for the 2026 and 27 school year. Item L, appoint building principals as truant officers and HIPAA privacy rule designee for the 26-27 school year. Item M, appoint John Walser as AHERA designee. That is for asbestos. Is that correct? Yes. N, designate First Bank and Trust as our official depository. We also use South Dakota Fit as well as a secondary. Item O, designate the Plain Talk as our official newspaper. Item P, the set bond for business manager, accounts payable, payroll of $400,000, and other employees of $100,000. Q, set dates, which we have a whole list here, of our meetings. You can see from that list too, that if the meeting falls on a Monday of a holiday, we typically like to do the Tuesday, if you guys are okay with that. I believe the example we have coming up is for Native American Day. Is that all right for you guys to set that Tuesday following? That way staff don't have to come in. Perfect. We'll continue, if that's okay, with our 7 p.m. meetings here at the City Hall. Okay. And then item R, which is set the salary of $60 per meeting for school board members. Would anything like to be discussed from items A through R? Any questions? All right, I would take a motion to approve items A through R. First by Mark. Second by Phil. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Next up here, we are going to go down to new.
Sorry.
Oh, what do we have? One I missed.
One more here. We've got an indication of conflict of interest. Which is on top. That one. Sorry.
Oh, perfect.
This is the conflict of interest disclosures that you state at each of your board meetings are covered each month. But of course, at the beginning of each term, we do one that's officially written out and signed and given to the Attorney General's office. The disclosures that you will talk about this evening are just interest in a contract. Basically, none of you have a conflict that would be in interest of basically a benefit from a direct contract. An example of that might be if you were to receive over $5,000 for a service as part of being on a school board, and maybe you owned a business in town that received those dollars, you would have to declare that. The board would discuss if that's reasonable and objective, and then they could sign off on that and it would be sent in. So it is in full transparency for the board. What we have for you tonight is that you have these to sign, and then you can give them to me and we can proceed. So I've got Rachel. I've taken the liberty to fill them in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Don't need to borrow your pen.
Thank you. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and read off each of ours. So it'll look like this. This is Rachel Olson, and I have an interest in a contract. I do work for Sanford Health, but there is no direct benefits.
This is Jacob Skelton, and I have an interest in contract. My wife does substitute teaching for the district from time to time, but does not meet the threshold.
This is Mark Winiger.
The disclosure is for the purpose of notifying the school board that I have no interest in any contract whatsoever. I have a relationship with the University of South Dakota in that I'm an adjunct graduate instructor.
Okay.
So that's
Yeah.
about half the semesters I teach. No other conflict.
Good, thank you.
This is Ryan Johnson. I do have interest in a contract in that I work for the University of South Dakota, but there is no benefit.
This is Bill Terwilliger. I have no interest in any contract or direct benefit from any contract involving the school board or the school district.
So yes, if you would sign those and pass those back down, we're officially good.
And then at each returning meeting, we'll make sure we do our indication of conflict of interest. These just need to be done once a year. Thank you. Thank you. All right, so we've got items A through K motioned and approved. So now we're going to move on to a new business. Significant amount here. We do need to make a separate motion here on our first item, which is item A, acknowledge the budget hearing that we just did here from 6:30 to 7, approval for the 26-27 budget adoption. So I'll take a motion to approve the budget.
So moved.
That was Ryan. Second by Jacob. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Well, same sign. Any comments there, Mr. Kosher?
Yeah, I have, at this meeting, usually read the resolution for this, so I can go ahead and do that, because
Sure.
effectively what you're doing by passing the budget is giving me the authority to contact county auditors with the levies that are being assessed. So I will read that resolution. Be it resolved that the school board of the Vermillion School District 13-1, after duly considering the proposed budget and its changes thereto, published in accordance with SDCL 13-11-2, hereby approves and adopts its proposed budget and changes thereto to its annual budget for the fiscal year July 1, 2026 through June 30, 2027. The adopted annual budget totals are as follows. General Fund, $12,847,288. Capital Outlay Fund, $3,412,475. Special Education Fund, $3,429,080. The Debt Service Fund, $1,387,500. The Food Service Program Fund of $1,034,000, and the Enterprise Fund of $175,800. Tax levy certified to the county auditor will be as follows. For General Fund Ag, 1.051. For owner occupied, 0.669. For NA or other, 4.867. Capital Outlay Fund, $3,239,052. Special Education Fund, a levy of 1.449. For the Bond Redemption Fund, $1,385,000. And the opt-out levy of $880,000. These are the levy requests with any additional dollars needed for the discretionary TIF value and abatements granted to be over and above the listed requests above as per South Dakota codified law.
So we have that motion of budget hearing and approval completed. We'll move on to item B, which is the approval of admission rates for 26-27 school year. You can see the sheet here below our single events, double header events, and the season tickets. And I believe, what do we do for senior citizens? Are those free
Yep.
still?
Age 65 and older are free. And these were updated last year, and this year we're keeping them the same rates as you approved last year.
And I believe nobody's on the booster club here right now because Carol just left, right? But I believe they'll be doing their booster bash here in August where families can also get those season passes, correct?
Yes.
Wonderful. Then moving on here is item C, which is approval of the bus pass rate change.
We are asking for a $10 increase for our individual bus passes and a $20 increase for our family bus passes here in town. This is our first time of increasing that in almost 20 years. So the district has been really amazing at keeping that affordable. We still also offer the quick, if you come before school sale and or a Christmas break sale, early bird special. So our price would then go from 50 to 60 and 100 to 120. Thank you. So those would be a recommendation tonight. Also, just a reminder that our students that are on free and reduced would be free to ride the bus based on their status with their free and reduced programming. So that way we don't have to have an issue there where some of our most vulnerable riders are choosing not to ride the bus. So that was already built into this.
Good to know.
Next up here, then we have item D, which is the approval of the mileage reimbursement rate change. The state of South Dakota has updated their mileage rate for personal vehicles from 67 cents per mile to 70 cents per mile. No changes were made to the meal reimbursement rates. The Vermillion School District currently follows a state rate for all travel reimbursements. So there's a recommendation to get to adopt the rate of 70 cents to stay in rate with the state, in line with the state.
Correct.
Great. Next up here is item E, approval of the open meeting review and explanation of the laws that we do here annually.
Last year, our state legislature passed, in an effort to be more transparent with the public, rules that require school boards to discuss open meeting laws and requirements at every annual meeting. So I apologize, I'm going to go through each of the questions that the Attorney General placed out there last year and revised, and then the answers to those. But again, if anybody were to have any more in-depth questions, they could reach out to me and we could do that. The first question was, what are South Dakota's open meeting laws? And the Attorney General's opinion was basically it's all open meeting laws that embody the principles that the public are entitled to the greatest extent possible to get information about public meetings and public affairs and encourage open governance. So that would be something that we would strive for. And also an official meeting requires a quorum of the public's body to be present for official business and public policy to be discussed. So in this case, we need 3 school board members to be actively engaged to consider it a meeting. What does it mean, or what do open meeting laws apply to? The open meeting laws apply to all public bodies in the state's political subdivisions, cities, counties, and school boards, and other public bodies. Are teleconferences considered public meetings? Yes. Obviously, there's a dependence on that, but in exchange of information, whether it's audio, video, or electronic means, is the same as being there in person. Question was, how are the public and media notified when a public business is being discussed? And South Dakota 125-1-1 says, prominently posted notice or a copy of the proposed agenda in a political subdivision's principal office. For example, for us, that is at the district office outside of my office for 24 hours prior to a meeting. Who are the local news media? Really, generally speaking, it's any personnel of a newspaper, a periodical, news service, or radio station, television station that regularly carry subdivisions news to the community. Is public comment period required for all public meetings? Yes, each public body must provide that, but has the discretion to limit public comment to a specific time for each topic to be commented on. It's not required at all meetings if the sole purpose is executive session. So if the board were ever to meet and say we only had a personnel issue to discuss, and they were doing that with the 5 members in quorum, they've announced it's going to be a personnel issue, they do not have to open that up for that section. Can public meetings be recorded? Yes, the recordings are reasonable, obvious, and not disruptive. Ours are already recorded naturally. Ours are found on YouTube. You can go back and see the archives of ours on YouTube or on our website. When can a meeting be closed to public or the media? In discussion of personnel issues is 1. 2, consideration or performance of disciplinary student of a student would be 2. Number 3, consulting of legal counsel or reviewing communications with legal is a third option. A fourth reason would be employee contract negotiations. And 5 would be to discuss marketing or pricing strategies. And 6 would be to discuss information related to protection of public or private property. For example, our emergency plans, our safety, security, things that we discuss with the board in private would be all items that we could go into executive session for. What is the proper procedure for executive sessions? It takes a motion for an executive session, must be specific to state federal law requiring the executive session. So when we would go in, if it was on personnel, we would state it's for personnel or negotiations or safety. Next one would be what happens if the media or public is improperly excluded from a meeting? Excluding the media or public from a generally public meeting could be that is properly closed, subject to public body of the members, could be considered a Class 2 misdemeanor, and it could be a reprimand from the Open Meetings Commission. How are issues referred to Open Meetings Commission or the OMC? Persons who allege violations of an open meetings law can make their complaints to the law enforcement officers in the county that the offense occurred in. After that signed and notarized complaint is made under oath and a necessary investigation is conducted by the state's attorney. They can either prosecute the case as a misdemeanor, or they can find that the matter had no merits and file a report with the Attorney General. And then they also can forward their complaints directly to the OMC for desegregation. What does the term sovereign power mean? The open meetings laws does not define the term, but generally means the power to levy taxes or impose penalties, make special assessments, create ordinances, abate nuisances, or regulate the conduct of others to perform other than traditional government functions. Next question was, may an agenda item be considered if they are added less than 24 hours before a meeting? Proposed agendas for the public meetings must be posted at least 24 hours in advance of the meeting. That typically the public body adopts that final agenda upon convening the entire board at the meeting. At the time of the final agenda is adopted, the governing body may add or delete agenda items and also discharge the order of their business. Last few questions here. Are email discussions meetings for the purposes of open meetings laws? Yes, those can be. If a quorum of the public body that discussed the official business of the body via electronic means is conducting an official meeting for scheduling purposes that do not fall within the definition of an official meeting. So an example would be, sometimes I will send a meeting notice out to you saying, hey, can we have a meeting on Friday? And you guys could reply back that said, yes, we can have that meeting on Friday. That would not be considered an open meetings violation. If we were discussing public's business about contracts or other school business through electronic means with more than 3 board members present on that email, that could be considered an open meetings violation. What records must be available to the public in conjunction with meeting public timelines? South Dakota 1-27-17 requires minutes of public meetings must be made available to the public at the principal's office of business, so the public body within 10 business days after the meeting, and made available on their website for the public body to view. So that's something that we do as well. Mr. Kocher gets those board minutes approved, and within that time frame are out for the public to review those. In the last couple, what requirements apply to task forces, committee works, and working groups? Task forces, committees, and working groups are not created by statute, ordinance, or proclamation and are advisory only and not subject to open meeting laws, which is good because some of you have commitments with your committee work. And are public records required to be reviewed in open meeting laws? Yes, public bodies must annually review an examination of the open meeting laws, which we just did. So that was, met the requirements of the legislator's intent last year. Was there any questions for that, or? Okay, thank you.
Always a good reminder, though.
Yeah, there's things in there that, as we do business, it's good to remember that to be transparent and open and have access to what's going on in the district, our folks need to know how to do that.
I always remember, don't reply all.
Yes.
Back to the entire group of okay, send an email directly to
Yep.
Dr. Al.
Yeah.
All right. so
Letter
then-
F.
Then we move on to approval of our surplus items.
We just have some more library books. Our staff, again, has done a great job of getting rid of outdated library books. And we also had the air exchange units that were on top of the middle school have been basically recycled and scrapped. And they are all new ones up there and functioning. The second half of that project will take place next summer.
Wonderful. Item G here, we have approval of certified lane changes. We have Brooke Bechtold, she moved to an MA. Laura Chandler is an MA plus 15. And then new hires, once their official transcript arrived, after they were hired, so Caitlin Wagner, she is an MA. And then followed by that, it's a very lengthy list of all of our amazing staff here, publishing our 26-27 annual salaries and hourly wages after negotiation. I believe that'll be in the plain talk.
Yes.
Perfect. Next up here, we have item I, which is approval of our busing transfer request with Gayville.
Yes, state law permits that districts can enter one another's districts for the purpose of picking up students as long as both districts agree to the location in the municipality. Gayville-Vollen brings a school bus in and they request permission each year through their letter from their superintendent, and they typically pick up a handful of kids at the Walmart parking lot in the morning and drop them off there in the evening for a few of our students that open and roll out.
Next up here then, we have an approval of a few adult volunteers. We have Travis and Misty Wells, both volunteering with Kurt Nelson for boys soccer, followed by John Zapani for also boys soccer. And then we have a Riley Hines for cheer, volunteer as well with Mrs. Elvey.
Yep.
Wonderful. Thank you for those volunteers. Anticipate a lot more of that once school starts. Next up here, with some discussion here, we have the approval of our 26-27 calendar update.
Just a reminder that in January, the school board approved the 26-27 calendar beginning and end dates. And then a couple times throughout the spring, there's times where we bring you requests to maybe change or tweak something. That is such a request this morning or this evening where in consultation with our administrative team, we have kind of several little things here we'd like to have the board's approval or grace on. The first one is on our original calendar, we had noted that we'd have a PLT date, professional learning time, on September 25th for our teaching staff. That's one of the professional days that you offer to them. Since the calendar was made, we found out that is homecoming week. And so now we do not want that on that date. So we'd like to move it to the week before, which would be September 18th. In the spirit of homecoming, last month I mentioned briefly that we were considering a change to our homecoming festivities. We had a request from our principals that because we have most of our high school, most of our middle school involved with the parade, and quite honestly, quite a few of our elementary students, they would like to ask the board's permission this year to try holding an early dismissal at 1:30 on homecoming day and ask that the students that are participating would go ahead and participate, but students that are not participating, I guess it's an early out day for them. The reason for the request was we've had some challenges with parents wanting to bring kids to and from the parade themselves. We also have a number of kids that end up leaving the middle school, elementary, and high school to get on the floats, and they end up getting out at noon to go get ready for those things. And so To be quite honest, the elementary said moving 500 kids to the main street is a lot of work. But we do recognize that homecoming's a special time for the kids, and so we have to be kind of sold that this is a good idea. So I am willing to give this a shot and say that basically we would have an early dismissal that day at 1:30. The kids that make it, all the kids that are in the parade would naturally already be down there and going to the parade. The kids that choose not to go to the parade, or the parents don't take them to the parade, would go to the Boys and Girls Club, or they go wherever they go. But it would really just take the responsibility of taking kids from the elementary to the parade route. We'd like to study this for a year and see if it's really what we want to do, or if after we've done it, we go, you know, we're missing something by not having all of those elementary kids on Main Street. So with the board's permission, we would try that this year, and we would reevaluate if it's something that we want to continue. In kind of talking to other schools, DAC 12 schools that are in our conference, about half of them don't have parades. It's just not their thing for their community. The majority of them that do have parades do have their elementary go to the parades like we have in the past. And there's only one or two that vacate school early and just say, you find your way to the parade. That's just going to be up to families and the kiddos to do that. So I'm asking for this time for us to consider that as an option, and then we would evaluate it after this year to see if it's something we would continue on with.
What about
Mark.
the kids that want to go to the parade? Are we going to be able to offer them transportation?
Yeah, that's kind of what we'd be getting away from. It would be sort of, if you want to get to the parade, it'll be up to you and your parents to get
Okay.
to the parade.
Okay.
That's the downside.
Have you talked to the Boys and Girls Club at all about any of the change of PLTs and?
PLTs, yes, not the homecoming parade yet, no.
They're always usually very supportive of
Absolutely,
PLT
yeah,
days.
yeah. Thank you for the reminder. Yeah, why is that important? Because when we have our professional learning time days, or we get out early, or we don't have school, the Boys and Girls Club's there to help pick up for the majority of kids that would be latchkey kids going home to an empty house. So that is a great benefit for us, for sure.
Thank God for Boys and Girls Club.
Yep.
I can see things too, like Mark, like Sanford, I always make sure I get, 2,500 pencils or whatever that I hand out. So something too that we would probably also just take some of those items to the school, so that way every kid could get one in addition to whoever gets it at the parade.
Yeah. The other thing that we would want to make sure, and we do this currently, but we'd have to be more purposeful with it, is to make the elementary feel, and honestly the middle school, feel more a part of homecoming, because it typically is seen as a high school celebration. We bring the king and queen, and we bring the marching band down, and we bring some of the high school kids to those schools to kind of rah-rah the kids. We would have to make it a concerted effort to make sure that we did a really good job of that in lieu of not having the parade for them. One of the things we discussed early in this process was, is there any way to do the parade closer to the elementary? Because then we don't have to walk 500 kids that far.
Right.
The city is not excited about that naturally, because closing streets down and through a residential area where there's cars parked on both sides, and then getting our parade participants safely back to the high school, it's challenging. When they get to the end of the street by the courthouse, they typically turn around and come right back on the next neighboring street. It's relatively chaotic, but it's safe. If we were to explore coming into town further, getting closer to Dartmouth and Franklin streets towards the elementaries, one, it's a residential area, and it's very hard to control traffic in residential areas. And two, with the cars on both sides of the streets potentially parking, it gets to be where you can't see kids very well. So bringing the parade to them was an option we looked at. It just is not real feasible in our community to bring a parade that close to from the high school to them is a long ways. So the third thing that we would ask the board's consideration with the calendar tonight would be to add two more PLT days to the calendar. You know my philosophy for PLT days, professional learning time. We typically have four of them for staff in a year's time. And that's designed to give them some time to work together, collaborate, to get some things done that they don't necessarily get done at an in-service day or sometime when we take other time from them. So with us becoming a bar school this year, building assets, reducing risks, by receiving that grant, it's going to take some work from our staff and from our district that I foresee that's not, we can't foresee all of the things that we're going to need from that. So I would advocate that we add a PLT date, professional learning time, for our staff on Friday, November 13th, which is a 1:30 dismissal, for them to have time to work in their rooms, collaborate, and Wednesday, December 9th, at 1:30 dismissal, so that we could offer them some time in the event that we're taking more of their time than we intend to with our bar implementation. And so those were two dates that would basically allow our staff to have one meeting a month that's going to be considered a PLT or an in-service day, and that's going to be designed to help them grow professionally. But we do realize that that can be a hardship for parents, so we try to limit the amount of time we have kids out of school. We already talked about this in March, changing the February 12th Friday parent-teacher conference to an in-service day. We talked to you about that this spring. That really went well. Our staff did a great job of communicating with folks. And for quite a while, we've debated about, is the spring conferences needed on the Friday? And this year, because we needed some time to work with staff on some professional development, we tried it as a trial, and it worked really well. So we're going to advocate for that being a future, just an ongoing thing. Parent-teacher conferences would still happen on Thursday afternoon, Thursday evening on February 11th, but Friday the 12th would be a half-day staff in service. And then the last one is a request to consider moving our graduation time on May 15th, 2027, from 10:30 till 1:30 in the afternoon to either 10:30 in the morning or 11 in the morning. This request came this year from our senior class, asked Mr. Fry during the year if they could change the senior graduation time, because it gives them more time to celebrate after the event, and they had more time for travel time afterwards. But we said, naturally, we've published this for 6 months, we're not going to change the date and the time at this point in the year, but we would bring it forward for future considerations. Mr. Fry and Mr. Huska had no problem doing this, and I guess what I would ask the board is to allow us to try it for a year, and if it's something that works for the students and it works for us, moving it to a morning would be advantageous in a lot of ways. The one downside would be those seniors that sometimes want a breakfast celebration prior to graduation, instead of having the after graduation celebration like a lot of students do. Some of our students have morning celebrations. Some have the night before celebrations too, but that would be the one downside. It would condense that morning down. So let's say we had an 11 o'clock graduation. They might only be able to have their celebration from 8:30 to 10:30 instead of 8:30 till noon, things like that. So,
You could start earlier.
yeah, right. So, I thank you for listening to the changes. We don't like to change our calendars after we've published them, but this year we felt it warranted some discussion and some things that might be worthwhile, and we wanted to get the board's permission to do those 5 things as part of a calendar amendment. Okay, thank you.
I mean, when it comes to the high school graduation, I mean, I don't mind if the class wants to vote every year, if that's what they want, as long as it's probably done by July 1st or something, you know,
Yeah.
I think that if you leave that up to, I mean, I don't mind flipping it back and forth. I want to be cognitive of USD because they let us obviously host it there, but I'm guessing they don't probably bothered either way.
That's right, that's a great question. USD has their ceremony the week before, and they leave it set up for us. We go in and tweak a few things that they take down, and we put up our banners, and they remove some chairs naturally, but otherwise, the setup is set up for the week, so they don't have a problem with that either.
Good.
Good reminder.
But I don't mind the senior class making that decision if that works for their families, and I can see how it might be unique each year, but
Be almost kind of a fun discussion or thing for the senior class to
Yeah.
decide, okay,
Yeah.
when do you want it to be? Do you want it morning, afternoon?
And we could have that discussion at the end of each junior year. They have their end of the year class meetings with freshmen, sophomores, juniors, and seniors. We could make that part of the junior class discussion.
Yeah.
And say,
I
hey,
like that.
Yeah,
so, okay, very good, thank you.
let them.
that's
give
their
them some
choice
power.
and their families.
Yeah, yeah.
That's exactly it. Perfect. And the only other thing with those PLT, that Wednesday is just kind of a not normal thing, so it's good to make sure we're communicating that to do a middle of the week
Yes,
change.
correct, thank
So,
you.
Perfect. Anything else for schedule? All right, next here, then we will move on to L, which is approval of our board policy readings. I'm guessing the policy committee might have helped with this?
Yes, they did. The policy committee met last month. Typically how this goes for those who might be listening in is each year after the legislative session, there are certain laws that the legislature has passed or promoted that require changes in the way we do business. And so our policy manual is managed and written by KSB Law, one of our school attorneys. And as part of the policy procedures with them, they meet with me in the middle of June to basically update any of the handbooks or the policies that were required by changes by law. And then we meet with our policy committee at the local level, and they have an opportunity to massage some things or add some verbiage that might be more meaningful for our district. And then at that point, we bring it to you. So tonight, I'm just going to quickly go through with the policy committee's permission to just read. There's some of these are brand new requirements required by law. Some of them are just tweaks, or they found statutory things that were maybe a law was misrepresented by the title, or maybe it was instead of FERPA, it was supposed to be some other acronym there for that. So the first one, 3003.1, is the bidding for public improvements and financing funds. This was basically a policy we already had. They changed the thresholds. As you can see there, they moved their thresholds from $10,000 to $15,000 and for purchases made, and then from $250,000 to $350,000. So that was just basically we changed the numbers in that particular policy. Excuse me, this is a long one, so I have to go through the whole thing. 3004.1. This too was a requirement, and it was a revision of some of the basically the category numbers there. The government changed their purchasing, micro purchases from 10,000 to 15,000, similar to the earlier package, and from the acquisition of equipment from 10,000 to 15,000, and from $250,000 to $350,000. So you'll see that those are changes in green, were additions, and the scratch outs in yellow. The next one was, sorry, I got a lot of paperwork here. 3012, this is a policy revision from our school meal program and meal charges. For those that are listening in, our meal program, our policy basically says that students need to pay for their meals. If they're part of the free and reduced program, of course they get the paperwork and the benefits associated with that. This year, as you recall, the state of South Dakota is going to change the federal National Food Service Program to cover any reduced students. So you always hear us use the term free and reduced. This year, the state of South Dakota will be covering the reduced students. So in fact, anybody who qualifies for free and reduced will all be free. However, not seconds and other things with those aren't always free. And that led us to consider a change to our meal charge policy. What happens when a student is getting low in their food service account is they get automatic emails, unfortunately, from the food service program daily that they are getting low on their accounts, or they might be in debt on their account. And so we had a threshold of $25 in the hole as our threshold before this district had punitive measures of a courtesy meal would be offered to students. In talking with Mr. Kosher, who implements much of the program, the principals, and our food service program, we find that you can go negative really quickly once you've hit $3, $4 in your program. Suddenly, 2 meals later, you're in a negative, and mom and dad don't get paid till Friday. They're getting the emails, and suddenly, they're in the whole $25. In talking with our policy committee, we discussed the fact that we would move the threshold from a negative 25 to a negative $50, because that gives us time to help work with the students that might be having that issue. And then we also talked about the courtesy meal language, and there says, at that point, a student would be given a courtesy meal, and till we get basically the balance caught up or a payment plan established, and we would be striking the language at that point of offering a courtesy meal. So we would increase the threshold to have less students meet the threshold, and then in return, then we would also take away the courtesy meal option. I want to make sure that I've spoken that correctly from the policy committee. Okay. And we completely agree with that. Mr. Kosher, anything to add to that? I mean, okay. We basically have a really robust system in our district, working with our foundation and others to help students that might be in a position where the meals are a problem to get those paid for. And we've got a really good program in place to help ensure that kids don't have that issue, and working with their parents. 3042 is our next policy, and that is a revision, and that is basically updating and addressing the accounting and reporting requirements. I'm sorry, 3034. Is that the one you guys are on?
3040.
Yep, sorry. The reason that I called it 3042 is because we already had this policy in place, and when KSB says, hey, we're going to add the green section of leases to 3032, and their policy manual, we said, we've already got this, but we've got it numbered 3042 because we'd already done this. I suppose did we do this when we did our elementary building?
Yeah, we had a policy in place prior to moving forward with the KSB, so we kept our original number, and now we will just be adding these two that are required by GASB standards now.
The next one would be 3060, and 3060 is ACH originator policy. This is a brand new policy. It's required. And basically, it's just making sure that we are meeting all the standards for the ACH originator. If you're making payments through electronic means, talks about the safety things that you have to have in place. Our district has seen an increase in folks trying to get access to funds, and we've got colleagues across the state and vendors that we work with from the Midwest that constantly have people trying to access their ACH and get fraudulent funds from a district or from a vendor. So the fact that this is a new policy added is not a big stretch. It's time, and it's something that we've been doing quite a while, but now it's in your policy manual. The next one would be 4012, and that is basically a revision. It just had a FERPA update there, just a few wording changes that they had. The next one would be 4051, and that is, again, just a revision. They had basically updated some verbiage with federal education records privacy, and they changed it to family educational rights privacy. Next one would be 4054, reporting child abuse. This is a revision, but South Dakota law changed this year to make it mandated that coaches are also mandatory reporters. Teachers, paras, principals have always known that we were mandatory reporters of child abuse, and now they just actually put into law that coaches needed to be added. So in our handbooks and in our policy manuals, that's been updated. The next one would be 4063, the staff use of AI tools. Another one that's a brand new policy. And basically, this is just common sense, outlining what students and staff can use AI for, and making sure that we share that with students. In today's world, it's getting used a lot, and our philosophy has been teaching kids the responsible use of all digital media, not only just AI, but computers, social media in general. But this just puts in a little bit of teeth to your policy to say, kids and staff, you got to do it right. We can't have you just going rogue on some of those things. 5064 is, or should be 5010, immunizations. Basically, it was just a change in one of the departments there that was recognized in 5010. A revision to 5016, student records. Basically, you can see just an update again on No Child Left Behind, verbiage to Every Child Succeeds Act verbiage. 5023.2, this is a response to life-threatening anaphylaxis shock. This is a revision of our current policy, but basically it updates our option B, which is what we use, which allows kids to carry those things. Now they can carry nasal spray as well, which was endorsed and allowed by state law this spring. Next one was 4024.2, the self-management of diabetes. Very similar. Our basically revision of this allows kids to have a plan and carry their own and self-administer any medicine and things needed for diabetes. And so the green language was added and the yellow was stricken. But we've got a robust diabetes policy in place for the needs of our students. 5038, alternative instruction settings. This was a new law that was passed this spring, House Bill 1017. It really doesn't do anything that you didn't already have the authority to do, so there's been some debate at the legislative level whether it was even needed, because school boards have always had the opportunity to let students be taught at home or other arrangements to best meet their needs or meet the needs of the district. Now it just basically puts it in writing. This is a practice that we've used in our district where a student sometimes has to be in a different setting because it's for their best interest or the best interest of the rest of the class to have them in a different setting. And it was just codified, I guess, this spring. 6003, instructional programming. This is a revised, updated language there. Basically, all the green is all new. They just revised the whole section there, but basically nothing that's extraordinary there. Basically, all of the requirements for how many hours of school for the elementary.
That didn't change though,
No,
right? They're just
no.
putting it in.
Yeah, it was just never written in your policy
Right,
manual.
okay. That's more
So sometimes you'll ask me, how many hours are required for
Yeah,
school at
and we
hours?
go look it up, yeah.
962.5. Well, now you've got it in your policy manual too, so. The next one would be 6021. Basically, it's just a minor change in updating some of the wording for ARSD versus SDLRC evaluation standards. 6031, this is students' use of AI and artificial intelligence. Very similar, some of the same language that you approved earlier on staff. Their use of that, but it's just some additional green language added and a few things that's been revised and taken out of that. And that is it for the policy manual.
That's enough.
For those who have been around a while, sometimes we have a lot, and sometimes we don't have very many. This is probably right in the middle. There was a lot there, but most of it, as you've noticed, was just a lot of little acronym changes or page numbers or things like that. But it's still important to make sure that we go through it and know where to find it if we would ever need it. So thanks for your patience with that.
Are there any questions on any of the policies?
Nope, and just a reminder that that is on the district's page. If anyone's curious on where the policy is located, what's in the policy, it's all public knowledge out there.
Good point.
Great. Thanks, Jacob. Looks like next here is approval of the student, staff, and activities handbook, which is also listed online.
Yep. Very similar there. Basically, the activities handbook, we just changed the dates there. And we removed a portion of, some of the links weren't active. So the links have been updated. So those changes have been made in the activities. The student handbook, basically date changes there. We added that medication administration of medicine that you just saw in your policy manual was placed in the student handbook. The student use of AI tools, the one we just talked about, was added to the student handbook. Then, of course, the normal time of year where we change the staff directory with the teacher changes, We removed and added school board members, we removed and added staff, and people that are in the buildings. And then updating the link to the calendar. Once the board approves the calendar, will be updated. And then authorization forms are also updated as well there. And then with the staff handbook, same thing. We changed all the dates in the handbook. We put the child abuse section that you saw in the policy manual about adding coaches was added to the staff handbook. The staff use of AI tools that was in the policy manual is now in the staff handbook. And then, of course, all the updates to the staff directory, school board members and staff that are coming and going were added as well. So those are the changes to the other handbooks that the district uses.
Also a good reminder when we're looking at the athletic, about the sports physicals, getting those in before school starts, and those sixth grade immunizations.
Yeah, we're a month away, you know,
Immunization policy.
from some of the activities starting in early August. So it's time to get those things done if you haven't, so that your kids are ready to participate.
Any questions on those handbooks? Seeing none, next item here is approval of the FY '26 Department of Education District Annual Report, Teacher Compensation Report.
Yeah, now that we have concluded our 2026 fiscal year, we have uploaded and prepared the annual report submission for Department of Ed. Within your packet, we do have some fund summaries for each of the different funds. They should reflect the similar numbers to what you've been seeing all year long in the financial statements that have gotten approved every month. Wanted to highlight those, but also wanted to highlight our two accountabilities that we have. We've got a couple of different things that we have to be accountable based on state laws that have been passed. One of them is on teacher compensation. So we have prepared the teacher compensation report for the year. The average teacher compensation for Vermillion School District based on the submission was $73,273. This well exceeds both the minimum requirement that we have. If we fall below that, then we are penalized by the state of South Dakota. We are over $3,000 per teacher ahead of that, but we are also ahead of the target that it has been set by the state based on their formula and the state aid that has been increased over the last couple of years. We are over that by close to $1,000 as well. So we are sitting in good position compared to our benchmarks for teacher compensation. On the other accountability that we have to look at is our general fund balance limitations. The lowest cash month that we have to have below 25% of our total expenditures for the year. Our lowest month is almost always October, and for this last year, our balance for the October close was just under $3 million, which ended up being a percentage of just under 24% of our total expenditures. So we should be perfectly fine for both of our accountabilities as we submit this for the Department of Education approval.
Any questions on that? All right. Then next up here, our last item, O, is approval of the South Dakota High School Association School Board Resolution.
Yes, this time of year, another annual job of the school board is to authorize membership in the South Dakota High School Activity Association. So it's an annual review, and this allows us to be part of the sanctioned events that the state of South Dakota offers for activities. So appreciate your support with that one.
Great. Any questions so far? We have availability here to make a motion on items B through O. All right, I would take a motion to approve items B through O.
So,
First by Phil. Second by Jacob. All right, all those in favor say aye.
aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Next up here then, Dr. Elby, if you haven't talked enough, how about a superintendent report?
Let me find my
That
report
page
here.
there, here.
See if I can find my report real quick.
I found it if you need it.
Yeah, just read off yours. Yes, we want to, first of all, thank our custodial crew and John Walser for doing a great job of getting our buildings up and going. It's been a very busy summer, and they're doing a great job of getting ready to go, even though we're a month away. Also wanted to kind of tell you guys a little bit about a potential partnership that we're creating at the school district, the Vermillion Community Theater, which of course has put on a great performance the last several days, and one going on right now, in fact. Our VADO and our VCDC and Vermillion Public School Foundation. There's others that are interested in helping partner to maybe put on a dry storage, climate-controlled storage facility on the west end of our current theater. For those of you that have been in our theater, we've done a lot of great work in there, but that place is busy. It gets a lot of use, and probably overused in some capacities because storage is very limited, and our theater people keep everything because they might need it for their next show. So with that in mind, the fire marshal doesn't love us having all kinds of storage in place. The janitors don't always love it. The theater people are moving stuff constantly for the music people and vice versa. And so the partnership started to talk about maybe between the theater groups, the music groups in town, and others, that we could put an addition onto the west side that would be climate-controlled storage, that it would give backstage work area for people to build and construct sets. It would allow easy access in and out of the theater area, and most importantly, a place for people to put things that would be in an appropriate place and climate-controlled, and the varmints don't get added, and the humidity doesn't ruin it, things like that. So we're working closely with that group, and if they just wanted an endorsement from the school board. It doesn't take an official action, it's just a thumbs up from the school board that says, hey, we're interested in this, and then Dr. Elvey continue that discussion. And what we would do is get them to come in and talk to you guys at the August meeting and share what that vision looks like, and then what the vision of the school board, and how we can mesh those two things. So if you guys are so inclined, I'll continue that discussion. And okay, good. A question that's been arising really nationally is talking about schools' use of screen time in schools, and what impact does that have with kids? Are kids spending too much time in front of screens, whether it's social media screens at home, their cell phones in their free time, using Google and other platforms at schools? And so we're having that discussion in our building to talk a little bit about what does it look like. And to be honest, the early discussions is really what you would think. At the early elementary, it's not used that often. It's used for reinforcement. There's games and activities that kids can play from time to time when they are done with their desired activity, that they can enhance that learning with a learning game like Math Munchers or some other programs. But they don't get very little unstructured time on those devices. Middle school and high school, they get a little more because we use a Google platform where kids do homework and hand things into teachers and communicate with teachers through that platform. So we're going to study that a little bit and talk about, is there a need to reel that in a little bit, or is what we're offering completely appropriate? So we'll include you guys in on that discussion, but I just think it's interesting that we had that discussion here. Then I heard about it, through some groups at Associated School Boards. Then nationally, you start to see them in some of the magazines. Mark and I read that talk a little bit about screen time, and is what's the tipping point for being good to bad. So I'll be interested in your opinions on that, if you have any. Glad to report that we're fully staffed in terms of our certified positions. We always have a para or two that we're trying to hire, and because of a couple of our custodians that are stepping down at the end of the season here, we'll have a couple of part-time custodians to fill. But we're going to be welcoming 9 new certified staff to their August orientation training in early August, and it's going to be nice to have them as part of our group, and we're excited to be fully staffed. That's the first time in a long time. Just a reminder, school board retreat will be August 4th from 8 till 12 at the high school. We'll have that chance to visit with the staff a little bit and talk a little bit about your goals and the strategic plan from the last few years. And then also just a reminder, Daniel, do you have that picture of the memorial column? There you go. That's a beautiful picture. That's some remnants of our Jolly School building and the bell from the Jolly School building. But basically, the little plaque there is an honor to the staff and the students and the community and all the great things that happened within that building for the years from 1954 on. The city basically collected bricks and saved the bell before that building was taken down, with this in mind, that they would put this out by the new park that they've created over there. So if you're out walking around sometime, Jolly, take a look at that when you're going between University and Linden, and you'll see a really neat little memorial there to the Jolly School and all the students and staff that have been a part of that.
Connie
So
there, she-
anyway, so that's it. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Alvey. Any houses broke ground over there yet at Jolly?
Yep, two. Well, one is well on the way.
Okay, all right.
Yep.
Awesome.
And one is the neighbor right next to it. It's supposed to break ground this fall. So there'll be 11 spots left if any of you are looking.
Yeah. Great. Next up here is our board report. So if we want to go around, do any board reports that we have, even though I think we did a lot between policy and finance, I'm guessing most of it got handled today. But if anybody has any remaining board reports, then I'll go ahead and list off our new assignments for next year. Anything have anything? Jacob?
Policy, Damon covered all of that, so it was our long meeting of the year, so knocked it out.
Associated School Boards had their annual meeting for the board, and unfortunately, I was sick last month, so my memory's a little foggy on exactly what we accomplished. It was just a standard meeting.
Finance, who had our meeting that last week of June, which was in preparation for today.
Yep.
Any public school or boosters or anything like that? I know Boys and Girls Club will have what they're calling the Clubhouse, which is kind of their preschool program. They'll be doing an open house and ribbon cutting with the chamber. I believe that's Monday, August 3rd. I want to say it's like from 4:30 to 7, something like that in the evening. So families get to come in and do a ribbon cutting for that program, which would be great. All right, so looking ahead to next year's committee assignments, I'll start with the representations. If the Public School Foundation, Ryan, you could continue doing that. Tax Assessment Committee, Jacob, if you could continue with that. I will continue with ICAP, which is, I can't remember what it stands for, Inter-Community Action Planning Meeting.
That's good.
Boys and Girls Club, Mark, if you could continue with that.
bet.
Phil, I know you're interested in that. I had to just be very aware that, because I'm on that and Mark currently, to make sure we don't have the 3 for public meetings. But I think that's something in the future, as Mark and I kind of transition, we'll get you into that, that organization. We just didn't think we should have 3 of us there, so. And then we have athletics/music boosters. The focus has been more so on athletics, but we'd like to get more involved with the music theater, especially with the partnership that Dr. Elvey mentioned. So we'll have you do that, Phil, but looking maybe to continue to expand into that music world as well. All right, and then for our committee work, we have buildings, capital improvement, and safety. Mark, if you would continue on that, and then we're going to add Phil. Finance committee, Ryan, if you want to continue with that, with myself. IT, community relations, Mark, IT, and then add you, Ryan, to that, replace Carol. Personnel negotiations, Jacob, and then myself. Curriculum and policy, Phil, if you could take over that policy that Carol had, along with Jacob Skelton. And then food advisory, Phil, if you could do that, along with Mark Winiger. And I rattled off that pretty fast, but
We'll get you a
Damon will get us a nice, pretty copy. I'm not for sure what committees start meeting right away here in July or August, but we'll all start off with a retreat here in August. And then it kicks off after that, so.
Yeah, and Phil's already come in and met once to talk a little bit about that, but really what we try to do is schedule several weeks out because of busy schedules. Some meet a little more regularly, but most of them are not big commitments. We just try to find a time in the school day where we can get together, whether it's with Kevin and I or principals or whoever. And we'll try to always give you several weeks' notice and get it on the calendar because we know people's time is valuable. So.
Perfect. Thank you for that. And then, any other board reports? We'll go to the order. All right, we will then move on to financials, to item A, which is the funds. Mr. Kosher.
Yep, report in your packets again. Don't really have a whole lot to highlight tonight. We've talked plenty. These do reflect the conclusion of the fiscal year there, so you can see sort of how that compares to previous years. On the one sheet, you can check those balances, see sort of what direction they're moving and maybe some of the changes that we've made over the last year or so between funds can maybe make a little bit of sense, but overall, I think we're still concluding the fiscal year in very good shape.
Any questions for Mr. Kosher? Seeing none, I would take a motion to approve.
So moved.
First by Mark,
Second.
second by Ryan. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion passes. Next up here, we have future agenda items. If anybody has anything, to let Dr. Elvey know. Seeing none then, we have two upcoming future board meetings. One is August 10th. Start of school is August 19th, so don't forget about that in there, which is a little over a month away. And then September 14th, both of those meetings are held at 7 p.m. here in City Hall. We are not in need of an executive session tonight, so I'll go ahead and take a motion to adjourn here at 8:16.
So moved.
First by Mark, second by Jacob. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Have a
That
great
one always
evening.
has a little enthusiasm on it. Aye.